We are now joined by a very special guest, veteran astronaut John Young. John Young flew on 2 Gemini flights, 2 Apollo flights including a walk on the moon during Apollo 16, and 2 shuttle flights aboard Columbia. He was the first space shuttle commander. This is Rich Kirshner reporting. John, how did you become an astronaut?
Well, I was a Navy test pilot at Patuxent River, and the President made a speech about send a man to the moon and return him safely to Earth within this decade, and I thought to return safely to Earth sounded like a good idea, so I recommended it. All my buddies and us put in for it because they were taking test pilots, and we did, and quite a few of us got selected. I guess just luck.
Your first flight was Gemini 3 with Gus Grissom. Could you tell us about the legendary sandwich that you took on orbit?
Well, that was not a big thing. That was only the 3rd sandwich to fly in orbit. It was just a corned beef sandwich because the food wasn't tasting very good, and we were running into a period of time where some of the systems weren't working right, and we're having a few problems. So I said, why don't you try the sandwich while we're working all these? You know, wasn't a big deal.
Maybe the media and history made more of a big deal out of it than it actually was.
Well, I think so, but that's normal.
On Apollo 10, you were alone in the command module Charlie Brown for quite a while. How difficult was it to achieve a rendezvous with the lunar module Snoopy when they returned from their near pass of the lunar surface?
Well, the job in the command module was to back up the maneuvers that the lunar module made, and if they couldn't make the maneuvers, you'd make them and go down and pick them up. And so I was standing by to do all that and doing a rendezvous from on board, which is it's a very busy time using the telescope to track them. We tracked them out to over 300 nautical miles with a telescope and took marks on them and to know right where they were all the time. So we had very good solutions to being able to do the burns in case they couldn't. But, of course, they made all their burns so we didn't have to do any.
Who came up with the names Charlie Brown and Snoopy for the spacecraft?
I don't remember. Yeah, I sure don't remember. I don't remember. But Mr. Schultz said it was okay, so that's what we used. And, of course, the Snoopy Award is a famous award that we developed in the Apollo program to give out to about 1% of the workforce for good work in space, and it's still around.
Your next flight, you commanded Apollo 16, and you walked on the moon. What were your thoughts that you can recall when you stepped on the surface and you're in a whole new environment?
Well, we were about, time on the moon is really precious, so they overbook your timeline. We were about 20 minutes behind as soon as we stepped out the door, and I was thinking we had to catch up. I think we landed about 75 yards from it. It wasn't bad considering how little we knew the surface of the moon and the effect of the mass concentrations it have on your position in space. And then we didn't know our landing surface area to within 20 meters, which is 160 feet across, and so we really didn't know the surface very well. We had to look around a lot, and we fortunately landed in the middle of a old 75-meter crater, and it was just flat as a board right in the middle of it, and so it worked out very well.
Well, that's amazing. Such accuracy from such a long distance out. How did you come up with the names Casper and Orion for those spacecraft?
I think Ken thought of Orion, and Ken thought of Casper, and I think we thought of Orion, but I don't remember how we did. I told him we slipped the launch a month. We were going to launch on March the 17th, which was St. Patrick's Day, and I told him if we launch on March the 17th, we'd call it O'Brien.
How long were you actually on the moon?
We stayed up there for about 3 days, and we were doing extravehicular activity for 20-something hours, so it was a pretty good mission.
How did the lunar rover perform for you? As expected?
Yes, it did very well. We'd actually been in the development of the rover, and I helped design the hand controller that they used to operate it with, and it's now one of 30,000 space spin-offs that same hand controller can allow very disabled people to drive safely on the highways, fly-by-wire drive, and it worked very well. So it's a very nice hand controller, and of course the vehicle the rover is really amazing. In the low gravity field, it would you go about 8 kilometers or 9 kilometers an hour and cut the wheels real fast. You'd slide out and go backwards. But you didn't have to worry because nobody's coming down the road from the other direction.
Yeah, that's true. And it must have been a lot of fun to drive, too.
Yeah, it was great. And it allowed you to do a lot more exploration. We could never walk this far. I think we drove 15 or 16 miles. We could never walk this far as the rover got us in quite a hurry.
And you had pretty good, clear communication through the lunar module?
Yeah, we had communications all the way back to Earth, so it worked great.
The Apollo program ended, and then the space shuttle program came up, and you were the commander of the first shuttle flight on Columbia. Now, most spacecraft were man-rated first, in other words, flown without people aboard. How were you feeling about the fact that this flight would be actually flown manned?
I was all for it. I used to go to a meeting about once every 2 or 3 months and talk about why we should fly human beings in there instead of make it robotic. First, the contractor said it would take them 6 months and $110 million to make the vehicle unmanned. You can take that number and multiply it by the money number and multiply it by 4 or 5, and you can take the time number and multiply it by a couple of 3. They, there's 2,000 switches and circuit breakers in the shuttle, and 500 something of them right now are software controlled, but the rest of them are all manual controlled. To make those all software controlled would have been one big mess, and it'd been a big engineering change. So I thought it was a good idea.
How much human decision do you think is involved in the average shuttle flight?
Quite a bit. They have to do rendezvous and docking. That's all big manual systems program, and keep station. That's big systems program, and operate the arm and do all that stuff. They're interacting with the robotic systems, but that's okay. The robots are the ends of your fingertips, and the robot arm is 50 feet long. Your fingers won't reach that far out in the vacuum, so it's a good thing. Your
last flight was on Columbia, STS-9, and that was 1983, which I actually was at the landing at Edwards Air Force Base. That Spacelab payload must have been quite heavy. Did that present any problems with the landing?
No, it didn't really. We had a big wind shear right at landing, and we're going to land. If we'd landed on airspeed, we'd have landed 500 foot short, 300 foot short of the runway. So touched down a little slow, 180 something and 185 or something, and we landed down the runway. But I don't think the payload had anything to do with it. It was just the lake bed. We found out the rolling coefficient of the lake bed was a lot less than what we thought, and but we proved you could carry and bring back 40,000 pounds from orbit. The space shuttle is the only thing that can bring back big weights from orbit.
I know that there was a long delay, about a 12-hour delay.
We powered up our computers. We'd been running on one computer for 10 days, and we powered up this one computer, and it failed, and we powered up another computer, and it failed. So we had lost 2 computers within 5 minutes of each other, and they found out some of the amplifiers in the computers had solder balls in them when we got back, and I thought it was the upfiring jets caused them to fail. And of course, gravity is an upfiring event, so I think we're in real trouble here. But it wasn't. It was these solder balls in these amplifiers.
You were the first commander of Columbia, then you flew Columbia again. Did you ever consider that the other astronauts were borrowing your spacecraft?
Oh, shoot, it belongs to it's a government spacecraft. I don't know Columbia. It belongs to the U.S. government. It's a great machine. It really was. I'm just sorry we wasn't able to figure out about this damage ahead of time, and fix it.
Have you been in contact with Bob Crippen, and how have you and your crewmates dealt with the loss of Columbia?
Well, it's very hard on everybody, and sure, I talk to Cripp every so often. He's retired now, living down in Palm Beach Gardens, I think, down in Florida. Well, anyway, so Cripp's down that part of the world, and we're over here, but he's doing some consulting work, I'm sure.
Now, you're still in the astronaut office. What's your capacity?
Well, I'm Associate Director Technical for the Johnson Space Center, so when something doesn't work right technical, I get the blame, but that's pretty normal.
So are you actually still on astronaut flight status?
Off and on, yeah. I'm going to get in a simulator next week and look at this new software load we put in.
Well, John, I'll ask you one last question. I ask this of all of our guests, and it's the most riveting of all, something that we're all interested in. What's your favorite food, and what do you want for Christmas?
Gee, I don't know. I like everything. I don't really have a favorite. Huh.
And what do you want for Christmas?
Huh? Well, actually, I've got so much stuff, I don't really need anything for Christmas, but thanks for asking. That's very nice of you. I want my missus to be there, and that'll be great.
Well, John, it's been a real privilege and an honor to speak with you, and our best wishes to you and to your endeavors.
Okay, thank you very kindly.
Veteran astronaut John Young. This is Rich Kirshner reporting.